How's it going, everyone? Jacob Rothenberg here, Senior Sales Development Representative at Drada, also known as the greatest SDR of all time, and will always be the greatest of all time. What I want to talk about today is something that was posed to me via a direct message on LinkedIn regarding what are the day-to-day activities of an SDR, particularly for me, learning from the best, of course. I'm flattered that someone would ask this. What is my daily schedule? So this is an interesting one to tackle, as of right now, at this present moment, do not follow a very strict schedule with how I conduct my activity blocks. Meaning, with the notion of activity blocks, you have a set numeric period of time where you maybe focus on emails, focus on making calls, focus on replying to correspondence, and so forth. Reason being, for me, it's not really important to you, but right now I'm kind of working on a more international scope with calls and emails and such, and I have a developed pipeline to where I can kind of just wing it, and I've got a good pipeline to just run freely like the wild. But for you, and what's pertinent to you watching this, is that I was actually using a very strict, almost militaristic schedule with how I conducted my activity blocks, starting out in the SDR role, especially as I did not have a pipeline of prospects at all. I had no leads that I was yet sourcing or had in a sequence, and as such, I devised a plan to be very intentional with my time and have dedicated blocks for what needed to be done in the SDR function. So I'm going to share that with you right now. What I would do, and again, I am in the West Coast, I am Pacific time. My company is headquartered in Pacific time. So just take this with some subjectivity in that regard. And if you're in another time zone, you may need to adjust. But here's what I would do. Usually. What I would do is wake up 7:30, make breakfast, do chores, whatever, and I want to be on the computer by 7:50. Reason why I want that little time gap of 10 minutes is just to, do my personal finances, check the bank account, credit cards, check Slack, maybe address some DMs that came out on Slack the night before, just read emails, just chill, kind of set into it, drink the coffee, the C4, whatever. And then once it hits to 8 o'clock Pacific time, in my opinion, is not yet the ideal time to cold call the West Coast. If you want to, you could dedicate calls for the East Coast and Central, but that can get a little bit of a chore trying to manage time zones, so I'm not really advocating that. From 8 to 9, I would be focusing on completing my CRM tasks. So if you're sending out a sequence, meaning you're enrolling a contact into your sales sequence. So email, it could be email 1, followed by call 1, followed by email 2, followed by call 2, email 3 with a video, and so forth. So if I had, for instance, email tasks to do where I have a manual email that I need to send out with a video, whether it's personalized or even just a more generic one, that is something that I take care of in the morning, as it does need to be done in order for the sequence to move from step A to step B. Because if you don't do that task, the sequence is not going to move forward. That kind of defeats the whole purpose of prospecting leads, in my opinion. So I would always get that done first. And yes, of course, if you don't have a big pipeline or you're just starting out, you're not going to really fill out a full hour doing that. So I would say once you have that done, whether it's 8:30, 8:45, you can get started on the next block, which is what I would do next in the way of cold calls. Now, everyone's got their own opinion on cold calls. Oh, the phone is dead, cold calling doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. BS. I'll be honest, for a period of time, I've never believed against cold calls, but there was a time I got a little bit comfortable with having such amazing success with emails that I let off the pedal a little bit with cold calls. That being said, I have seen undisputable evidence with regards to my own results and other peers as well that cold calling is absolutely not dead. Even if you're in a industry such as cybersecurity, where I'm in, where there's this whole notion or stereotype like, security people, IT people, they never pick up the phone, and if they do, they're just going to scream at me and hate me. They hate cold calls. Not necessarily true if you're able to approach it right, but that's going to be another topic, maybe for another video. This is not the lesson on cold calls. This is about activity blocks. So I would say, as someone on the West Coast working the whole United States, it is ideal to start calling at 9 a.m. because that's when, you know, people are warmed up. They've already maybe done their first stand-up meeting or their first task of the day. Now you can progress in calling from the PST 9 a.m. to even EST 12 noon. And from 9 to 10, I consider that the power hour, where it is non-negotiable. Do all your calls that you have needed to be done for the day. Get through it. And I'd say from 9 to 10, that's non-negotiable. That is the power hour. I would even go as far to say, if possible, and do this with grace, negotiate any reason to not have any scheduled meetings or Zoom calls from 9 to 10. Yes, it's a little controversial. Yes, someone from my own company was like, was Jacob doing that all along? Was he ducking me on those Zoom calls? But no, in actuality, be very diplomatic and graceful about it. If your manager is wanting to schedule, like let's say your weekly check-in or your weekly one-on-one from 9 to 10 PT, just explain, tell the truth. Hey, Vanessa, I'm actually very busy on a regular basis with my routine, doing cold calls from 9 to 10 a.m. That's when I get the most pickups, the most actual held conversations. Can we maybe schedule our one-on-ones weekly at a later time? Likewise, if someone wants to shoot the bucket with you from 9 to 10, not happening. If someone wants to slack you some, funny meme from 9 to 10, not happening. 9 to 10, you focus completely on calls. Now, once that's over, I'd say from 10 to 12, finish out any other calls that you have. And with the time remaining up until 12, that's when you're kind of like, you can chill a little bit. Maybe go through your emails. You can even start prospecting if you want a little bit, I would say, just to get that in your activity. I would say don't chill. Don't let off the pedal. Don't do these 2-3 hour breaks like some other SDRs might be doing at other organizations that struggle to hit quota because they can't even work 40 hours a week. Make sure you're being very intentional with your time from 8 to 12. Then from 12 to 1, okay, great. That's your lunchtime. Take a walk. Read a book. Listen to an audiobook. Do whatever you want for that hour. That's your time. Now, once you're back, I'd say from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific is the next power hour. Get your calls done that you maybe have been waiting for, or do your callbacks. Get that out of the way. That's another great time for pickups. And of course, guys, you can call someone from freaking, I've done this. I can call Nigeria. Believe it or not, I literally do this. I can call Nigeria at 8 o'clock in the morning and get a pickup and be able to set a meeting. Actually happened last week. So, take this with a grain of salt, but ideally 8 to 9 power hour, 1 to 2 power hour. Okay. From there, 2 to 5, those 3 hours, you want to do your prospecting. I would say with regards to being a new SDR, as I mentioned before in a prior video, prospecting and building your pipeline is arguably the most important thing you need to do as an SDR. So that's why you need to dedicate at least 3 hours to it. And, of course, the better you get at prospecting, the faster you get. Maybe you don't need to spend those 3 hours to find 20 or 30 good leads. My record, I think, is 40 or 50 leads in 1 hour. And I can get 100 leads in 2 hours. without cheating or using automation, just by being a freaking demon with multiple monitors. Another story. But definitely take a high priority on your prospecting. That being said, task management is also just as important with making sure you're moving your sequences along, you're making your calls, you're making your email responses, you're working with your managers too on coordinating all of that to set the meetings. Because what is your job? Number one, it is to create those conversations with your prospects, find out their pains, their goals, what they're out in the market for possibly, along with getting intel on what they could be using already, etc. Create conversations. Number two, your job is to book the meetings and get your commission with however you're comped, right? So that's got to always be taken care of. But after that, prospecting from 2 to 5. Hey, if you're ahead of the day, maybe you're done prospecting your imposed quota, your own KPI. Let's say you want to work 30 prospects in a day. You have 30 done at 4 p.m. Okay, cool. Now you can chill. Now you can step back if you want to. You can either choose to work more or just stop right there. Maybe you can check your emails one more time, go through the Slacks, BS around with your mates, whatever. And then, assuming that you're a normal human being, you're done and rinse and repeat. Again, disclaimer, I don't follow this schedule anymore. I'm the kind of weirdo who really, really, really wants to make the max comp possible. I have no problem at all working up until 2 or even 3 a.m. at all. I could do it without even thinking that I'm up until 2 a.m. working. It's normal to me. I don't want to really put that vibe out there to intimidate people away from SaaS sales, and I definitely don't want to deter people from joining a potential career that's very lucrative. It's my choice and my own volition to be working late, but if you want to be making 20 to 30K a month as an SDR, not even as an AE, as an SDR, you got to put in the hours. I probably need more sleep too. I can tell I've been working too late. So that's it, guys. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to answer. Likewise, find me on LinkedIn. If you're interested in a career at Gerada, hit me in the DMs. We'll chat. I'll look at your resume, see what we can improve to get your chances much better in getting your desired SaaS role, whether it's in Gerada or even somewhere else. It's totally chill, totally cool. So until then, peace. See you later.